KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So once again, before I get started, give me one if I sound okay, two if I don't. Okay, all right, cool. All right, so we're in some interesting times, and I'm gonna talk about a few things and share some stuff, and I'm not sure. Like, one of the things I'm gonna talk about initially, excuse me, is what I believe is happening today is all tied to the Inquisition. Now, I'm not doing a teaching on the Inquisition. I've done teachings on that. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But I was having a discussion with my brother Pacrasino on Facebook, and we were talking about the Sephardics that were in America. And he shared some stuff, and we talked about some stuff that I mentioned in some of my previous shows. And what it appears to me, just like one of my previous videos I called Inquisition 2.0, I really do believe all of this is a continuation of the Inquisition. whether or not you call it Inquisition 2.0 or not. If you notice, the persecution of our people never stopped. The enslavement of our people never ended, and they just changed form, right? And they had released the chains and allow you to travel places, give you a little more money, stuff like that. And now we're at the stage where they're rolling back some of those liberties. Why? Because they set up the foundation where, as the Pope said, you will be perpetual slaves. Well, that's the goal. Okay, the goal is that we will be perpetual slaves. Now, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and he's still a Christian, and we were talking about what he expect to come. They're expecting the whole third temple crap, in the Middle East and that fake land, and they're expecting the sacrifice of the red heifer and all that bull crap, right? And I'm like, and he believes some of us Israel, right? I'm like, how can you believe some of us Israel and believe that the Middle East has anything to do with us? But I digress. But when we look at what's happening and we look at the prophecies, they're coming, as I mentioned before, very, very fast. And just as we had during the time of COVID, a lot of people had to make a decision, right? And, this ministry warned you all about the decision you would make. And now we're warning again about the decision you're going to have to make. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to share some things. I'm going to come back and revisit this whole point that I'm making about the decisions that we have to make. And I've determined in myself the decision I'm going to make up front. But I'm not going to tell you what the decision you make, right? That's up for you and your family. But let's look at some of these, and I'll come back around. All right, so let's do this. All right.
Time for digital ID. Okay, 17 countries have rolled out or passed digital ID laws in the last 3 months.
Can you do me a favor and explain to me what digital ID is first?
It's implemented in stages, though, too. So
it's implemented in stages. So digital ID is essentially tying your biometric. The ultimate goal is tying your biometrics to a essentially IP address on maybe, let's say, a blockchain, so that you can have your own social credit score based on the things you say, the things you pay, and the things you
Black
do.
Mirror.
Very 1000% Black Mirror. So basically every single Revelations type prophetic show that you've ever watched, that.
Because when I think of digital ID, I have been flying a lot lately, especially with Delta, and it has digital ID on it, and it's awesome because you walk up and you're like, it shows your picture. I say TSA pre-check and digital ID. I walk up, don't take my shoes off, my belt off. It scans my thing. They don't need my boarding pass. They don't need my passport. They don't need anything.
Well,
I'm like, that's awesome, bro.
Yeah, it is awesome. Don't get used to traveling, though. Because beyond in this podcast, they're gonna flag your ass here in about 2 years. Yeah, bro. You won't even be able to start your car. Right, so it's that like inability to be able to buy or sell unless your social credit score checks out. So there's 17 countries that have all rolled out or passed this. Okay,
hold on.
All right.
When you say social credit score, because there was a Black Mirror episode. Did you watch Black Mirror yet? No. Son of a bitch.
Get to your point, because I want to say 17 countries that are doing this now. The EU, the UK, Laos, China, Taiwan, Mexico, Zambia, Canada, Ethiopia, Thailand, Vietnam, Australia, Costa Rica, Switzerland, and Papua New Guinea.
Mexico is trying to, the president is trying to have a law saying that you would be jailed for memes or making fun of any political figures or of Mexico. You will be fined up to, I want to say, 20,000 pesos.
Or 3 years in prison.
If you make a meme.
Somebody just went to jail in the EU just over a meme.
All right, so here's the deal. Because even me, you know, I was like, well, what's the difference between a real ID and a digital ID? And I'm like, okay, because I already have a real ID, right? Because I live in Texas. Texas already had your thumbprint. The difference between a digital ID and a real ID is that a digital ID is just that. Everything about you is digital. Everything exists on your phone, right? And you're going to have a wallet, just like you do with crypto, right? And all that information about you is in your wallet and your social credit system and all that stuff. So it's if you look at what's happening in China, China has a app. I think, what is it called? It's not WhatsApp. I think it's WeChat, right? Which is similar to WhatsApp, but they do everything in there, right? And so they can cut you off for your bank account and do all these things. Now, the host, I believe the other guy was the host. He was like, oh, it's a great thing, you know, because I got a digital ID and I can go through TSA pre-check and all that. I don't have to stop and do anything. I just walk straight through. This is the years of conditioning and mind, you know what, right? It's the years of brainwashing, because this dude is so excited that he can walk through TSA and checkpoints at the airport and don't have to stop. But when I grew up, guess what? You didn't have to do that. When I was young, guess what? You could just go, pay for your ticket, hop on the plane, no checks, no screening, no nothing. Okay? Now, understand this, that they make it like the freedoms that you naturally have, right? The freedoms that you naturally have, that when they give you these tokens that allow you to walk straight through, that you are given freedom. No, you're not given freedom. What's happening is that you're given a longer chain. Now, the interesting thing about this chain is, as soon as you act up or you say something they don't like, they're going to pull that chain back. Right? See, I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what I'm going to do. I mean, what you should do. I'm going to tell you what I am doing. I have determined within myself what I'm going to do. I'm not telling you what to do. Repeat after me. Your Cobra is not telling me what to do. Okay. All right. So now that we got that straight, what I'm going to do is I'm cutting it off at the digital ID. I'm not taking it. I'm not saying the digital ID to mark of the beast. Okay. It's a step away from it, obviously. Why? Because you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell with it. Okay. You won't be able to buy, trade, or sell with it unless you have that digital ID. But according to the scriptures, on your right hand and forehead, so I'm assuming that's what makes the difference. Now, for me, I understand what's happening. That digital ID is you. Yes. Thank you, Minister. Tell you. Basically, what it is electronic dog collar. You're deciding to get a digital ID to put an electronic dog collar on yourself. Right? You're deciding to put the chains back on your neck. You're deciding to put the cuffs on your wrist. You're deciding to put the ankle chains on your ankles. You're deciding to put the steel muffler, like they used to have on our people when they were working in the field so they can't eat. You're deciding to put that on your face. It's electronic. Well, what do you mean by that, Jacoba? What I mean by that is you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell unless you have your digital ID. Period. That's the facts, right? So when Jacoba says something, right, they're gonna shut off the bank account. They could do that now, but with the digital ID, it's easier. Okay, with the digital ID, you can't go anywhere, do anything. You can't buy anything. You can't get your money out. You can't trade. It's a step away from the mark if it's not the mark, right? The only reason I would say, and I'm cautious at it, the only reason I would say it's not the mark of the beast is because it's not on your right hand and forehead. But guess what? It still chains. It still chains. I'm not going to be chained. The Most High says that this curse is on them. It's not on us. The Most High says we're not going into captivity. We're coming out of captivity. So I refuse to put electronic chains on me. I'm not doing it. You do you. Do you imagine all of the people today who will still be around if they had listened to Tail Ministries back in the day when we warned you about the lollipop, do you know how many people wouldn't be sick today with myocarditis and all this other stuff and reactivations of certain issues, right? If they had listened not to eat a lollipop. But guess what? I'm not here to convince you. I'm telling you what I'm doing, because guess what? It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take faith. It's going to take some manna in the wilderness. It's going to take angels keeping your lights on when it's freezing. It's going to take angels to bring some food to your house when the stores are closed. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Y'all do you.
Christian that I know says that they will stand firm, says that they will not enter into the beast system, but we simply just know that is not the case. That most will be knocked off the narrow road, that most won't endure to the end. 83 million bank accounts were just frozen in Vietnam. That country only has 86 million people. So basically, they froze every single person's bank account in that country and said, if you want your money, you're gonna have to come in and do biometrics, come in and get digital ID, and then you can have access to your money. Everyone says they will stand firm, but what about when you can't feed your children? What about when they make it so you can't go to work unless you enter into the system? The devil doesn't play by your rules. He wants you to be able to not feed your family. He is going to push every single one of us to our breaking point so that we finally give in. We finally justify to entering the system. And the devil is waiting for that justification. He is waiting for you to say, well, I gotta feed my family. God will understand. This is when Christians have to stand firm. We have to endure to the end. Because we know what's coming.
So as my previous show said, we're going to be refined as silver is refined in the fire, or as gold is refined in the fire, right? We're going to have to walk by the faith that we say we have, right? We're gonna have to believe when we don't see it. When you can't pay your rent, you have to believe that the Most High is going to keep you sheltered. When you can't get food, you're going to have to believe that the Most High is going to bring you something to eat. And when they put you in jail, you're going to have to believe that the Most High is going to get you out of jail. This is where we're at. It's not no more feel good, huckabucking, right? This fake faith that a lot of Christians have, right? No, and Israelites, your faith is going to be tested. My faith is going to be tested. Look, here's the bottom line. I don't like being hungry. Shoot, I hate when I'm fasting, right? I can't wait till the fast is over so I could get me something to eat. I don't think it's gonna be easy. I could tell you one thing though. I am not getting the digital ID. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting the chains on my neck. The Most High says we're being set free. It's on them. It's not us. And I'm going by that. He said he's going to deliver us. I'm believing that. He said he's going to bring us back to the land of our captivity. Bring us back from the land of our captivity back to the promised land. I'm believing that. Right? I'm not going to believe my eyes, right? But here's the thing. I'm not going to assume that I don't have to suffer. I'm hoping I don't have to suffer too much. I'm hoping he get us out of here. But guess what? That's what the wilderness is going to be. Trials and tribulation. Our ancestors didn't. It was like, hey, where the water at? Hey, where the quail at? We were better in Egypt. Y'all know y'all going to say that. Y'all know y'all gonna say, and a lot of y'all gonna get the digital ID, just like y'all did with the lollipop. Well, I can't work you, Cobra. The Lord understands, so I gotta get the lollipop. Otherwise, I can't eat. Look, the lollipop was a test. And a lot of y'all failed. The lollipop was a test to see how many of you all were compromising. Do you not know that the majority of the world compromised? Do you not know the majority of the world ate that lollipop? Do you not know it was only a few people who did not? I'm not pointing fingers at you because you did. But understand, you coming with the same choice again. How you gonna feed your family? How you gonna have shelter? How you gonna have a job? How you gonna eat? Everybody, look, most people are becoming unemployed anyway. So then the question is, in order to get universal basic income, you got to have a digital ID. See, they set up the system and they got rid of SNAP benefits and they getting rid of health benefits and they getting rid of all of the safety nets of the government. Why? Because they want to bring you to your knees. They want to bring you to your knees. Why? Because when you hungry and your children hungry and you freezing your butt off and you can't get no food and all this stuff and there's chaos in the streets and there's no peace. There's no peace anywhere because people breaking into people's houses, stealing people's stuff. When you are at your wits' end, you're going to give in. That's what they want. And you're going to take your little digital ID, and when they say take your mark, take your chip, you're going to say, sure, Mr. President. Gotta understand, he know I got to feed my children. But what does the scripture say? I'm going to tell you, I think, look, there was a lot of Israelites who ate that lollipop. Don't get it twisted. It wasn't just the Christians. I think the difference is Christians are always making excuses. Christians are always saying that, you know what, gotta understand.
Vietnam, SPV, just closed 43% of all bank accounts in Vietnam because they hadn't complied with biometric authentication, in other words, digital IDs, based on your fingerprint or your eye. And that's out of 200 million accounts across a population of 70 million. So this is fascinating stuff because it's just been done. Because the internet is not free in Vietnam, there's not a lot of chatter about it within the country. There's a lot of chatter about it outside of the country. And I'm chatting about it here now with you, to an Irish audience largely. And it's quite extraordinary because what it's actually saying is that biometrics are needed for any transaction in excess of around 393, and I don't know if that's Vietnam dollars or whether it's actually dollars. But the point is that, I think another potential Hudson razor might be something along the lines that, like any time that
hold on, fam, I'll be back.
To you, that's something that you already own as an asset or a service that you have a right to is no longer available unless you go through a digital ID process. I mean, that's alienating you from your service or your asset. That's the start of the control grid. The State Bank of Vietnam, SPV, just closed 43% of all bank accounts in Vietnam because they hadn't complied with biometric authentication, in other words, digital IDs, based on your fingerprint or your eye. And that's out of 200 million accounts across a population of 70 million. So this is fascinating stuff because it's just been done. Because the internet is not free in Vietnam, there's not a lot of chatter about it within the country. There's a lot of chatter about it outside of the country. And I'm chatting about it here now with you, to an Irish audience largely. And it's quite extraordinary because what it's actually saying is that biometrics are needed for any transaction in excess of around 393, and I don't know if that's Vietnam dollars or whether it's actually dollars. But the point is that, I think another potential Hudson razor might be something along the lines that, like any time that a government is suggesting to you that something that you already own as an asset or a service that you have a right to is no longer available unless you go through a digital ID process. I mean, that's alienating you from your service or your asset. That's the start of the control grid. The State Bank of Vietnam, SPV, just closed 43% of all bank accounts in Vietnam because they hadn't complied with biometric authentication. In other words, digital IDs, based on your fingerprint or your eye. And that's out of 200 million accounts across a population of 70 million. So this is fascinating stuff because it's just been done. Because the internet is not free in Vietnam, there's not a lot of chatter about it within the country. There's a lot of chatter about it outside of the country, and I'm chatting about it here now with you, to an Irish audience largely. And it's quite extraordinary because what it's actually saying is that biometrics are needed for any transaction in excess of around 393, and I don't know if that's Vietnam dollars or whether it's actually dollars. But the point is that, I think another potential Hudson razor might be something along the lines that, like, any time that that a government is suggesting to you that something that you already own as an asset or a service that you have a right to is no longer available unless you go through a digital ID process. I mean, that's alienating you from your service or your asset. That's the start of the control grid. The State Bank of Vietnam, SBV, just closed 43% of all bank accounts in Vietnam because they hadn't complied with biometric authentication. In other words, digital IDs, based on your fingerprint or your eye. And that's out of 200 million accounts across a population of 70 million. So this is fascinating stuff because it's just been done. Because the internet is not free in Vietnam, there's not a lot of chatter about it within the country. There's a lot of chatter about it outside of the country, and I'm chatting about it here now with you, to an Irish audience largely. And it's quite extraordinary because what it's actually saying is that biometrics are needed for any transaction in excess of around 393, and I don't know if that's Vietnam dollars or whether it's actually dollars. But the point is that, I think another potential Hudson razor might be something along the lines that, like, any time that that a government is suggesting to you that something that you already own as an asset or a service that you have a right to is no longer available unless you go through a digital ID process. I mean, that's alienating you from your service or your asset. That's the start of the control grid. The State Bank of Vietnam.
All right, fam, I'm back. Sorry about that. The smoke alarm went off, and we had a new AC unit put in, and the AC was good, but we think it may be the heater, and that's it. It smelled like it was probably the heater that was causing the smoke alarm to go off. So I had to put in an emergency ticket here. So, all right. So I'm back. Hopefully nothing else happens. Anyway, I'm good. I'm good so far. And the smoke alarm went off. So, all right. So let's continue here. So anyway, we see that Vietnam, they shut down banks, right? It wasn't the stakes. I wish it was the stakes. I wouldn't be so concerned. But anyway, Vietnam is shutting down bank accounts if you don't have your digital ID and your biometrics associated with it, right? And so we got to understand that these things is in 17 states already. I mean, countries, 17 countries. And you know that the U.S. being the leader of everything, and they all part of the Agenda 2030 agenda that they all are trying to do this thing. All right, hold on. I'll be right back. Minister Tay want me to go double check. Hold on. All right, so yeah, So, yeah, I turned off the anyone who's concerned. The heater's off. I put in the ticket, so we'll see how things go. It seemed like everything's okay right now. So, all right. So let's continue.
If you know anybody from the UK, this is their warning. Send this to them. The same thing they did in Thailand and in Vietnam, they're gonna do there. People are already reporting that it's very difficult to get your money out of the bank. There's people that are being proactive and understand, even though they're saying, no, that's not gonna happen here. No, we're not gonna do that. They said the same thing in Thailand and Vietnam. And then the next day they woke up and they couldn't access their money. And people right now are already saying, we can't even get our money out. It's coming. It's their playbook. Understand they have a game plan. It's an agenda. It's not going to stop. They've already started. They're going full steam ahead, and they will come for your money next. Diversify. Put your funds somewhere else. In the UK, you have to get your money out of the bank, because if you don't, it's going to come a time where you can't get to your money anymore unless you give up your biometrics.
All right, fam. So, in my opinion and Minister Tayu's opinion, we at decision-making time, right? And, you got to determine within yourself what you're going to do. If you're going to get your digital ID or not, like I said, is it the mark of the beast? I mean, it's the mark, his name, or the number of his name on the right hand or forehead, right? So, hold on one sec. I'll be back again. Well, fam, look, I'm a go. I'm not sure if there's a leak of some kind of smell, because the smell is still hanging around a bit, lingering. I don't know if it's carbon monoxide or whatever. So I'm gonna end this show. Maybe I'll redo it, maybe not. But anyway, you see what's happening. A lot of stuff that's happening, and I think we at decision making time. So sorry I couldn't do the whole show. Peace out.